let's start off with a change in sentiment that we saw happening towards the end of last week. Of course, closed for a public holiday yesterday, but are you starting to see the positivity filtering through? Do you think that it's here to stay after the recent slump that we saw in the markets?
Thank you very much for having me. Yes, as you've rightly said, the market closed up on Friday. After yesterday's public holiday, we actually expect the positive run to continue today. Looking at the results that came to the market on Friday, there are a couple of banks, that released their first quarter Q1 result and the full year result. Some of them actually released it on Friday. The market response to this result was positive, and opening the week today, we expect the same run to continue.
Well, Oladele, just also looking at some of the results, and in fact we had Stanbic that came out with results on Friday afternoon. What did you make of those numbers? We've got gross earnings sitting at around 59.8 billion naira, down around 2% compared with the prior year, but we know that many banks have also experienced some negative news. At least that's what we've been seeing on this end.
Yes, Stanbic IBTC actually released the result on Friday, as said. Yes, a positive one to say compared to their peers in the market. Looking at the performance and even the dividend payout, I think the reception was very, very positive in the market, and that resulted in the stock closing 5% up, the maximum that any stock can gain on the exchange on Friday. And again, if you look at the breakdown of the figures, yes, the interest income a slight decrease compared to their peers, and equally the non-performing loans ratio is better than their peers. If you look at the market generally, I would say yes, it's a positive result, and the market actually reacted in the same direction. And looking at, the expectation today is the stock is still expected to rally up, even during today's trading.
Well, you mentioned a lot of the peers and, of course, the banking sector in Nigeria has been under the spotlight purely because a lot of the banks have gone to the market to try and raise more capital, because we've been seeing capital adequacy ratios starting to slump somewhat. We know that Sky Bank planning to raise around 100 billion naira. Other banks also coming to the fore with similar news. Do you think it's going to be a trend that's going to continue for the most part of this year?
It's likely going to be that way. We are likely going to see other banks following suit, trying to do what Sky Bank is planning right now. Yes, some of them will actually come to the market to raise capital. That's my own opinion. We are likely going to see more of that.
Which are your preferred banks at this stage? We know that around 10 of the 24 banks have released results, so we are expecting more numbers to filter through as we go along. But it seems that there are, of course, some favourites for investors out there, some that still have growth potential and have weathered the storm quite well.
Looking at the results that have been released so far, yes, as you have said, the full year result of most of the banks was, very, very disappointing. But most of them actually quickly, they supported the result release with their Q1 result, which actually shows some level of improvement. And with what we have seen so far, I would say yes, GT Bank is still a good bank to buy. Sky Bank is not a bad one. And yes, I will equally go with Stanbic IBTC. It's equally a good buy, going with what we have seen so far.
Oladele, from an economic perspective, we know that the central bank governor has been criticized for overhauling the financial sector. So a lot of concerns emanating from that kind of criticism. But at the end of the day, we know that the banking system has needed quite a few changes so that we do see those margin loans looking far better than what we saw during the crisis. How do you see that playing out, of course, from a political perspective as well?
Looking at what we have seen so far, I would say those that have criticized the central bank governor for putting together the reform, I think right now they should actually have a rethink. because before now, before the reform, if any bank, the result of any bank is released, there is some level of discounting that you need to do to, what you consider to be, facetious in the figures. But right now, results are being published in the market, and, investors are taking it for what, they take the result as given, and they can run with it. I think that has actually, the confidence level in the banking sector has improved greatly. And coupled with the issue of universal bank that CBN is equally looking at, First Bank is blazing the trail right now by putting together a holding company, which I believe other banks will follow suit. This will equally put the banks in, give them the opportunity to face their core banking job. And on the long run, yes, the industry is actually going to, to profit there. But I want to believe people that have criticized all these reforms are looking at what is turning out right now. They should actually have a rethink, and everybody should support the reform and, allow it to the economy to profit thereby.
Oladele, I have a question for you on the bank, the rescued banks. I see there's been some local media reports indicating very deep concern about the condition of particularly two of the banks, and that it might in fact hamper the ability of the central bank to get buyers for some of these banks. How do you see the troubled banks being sold into the market? Do you think it's feasible? How do you see that develop in the next few months?
Yes, it might be. Yes, the news in the market is actually that good. There are difficulties in getting them off the shelf of CBN. But I want to believe, there is actually a price for everything. Any interested investor will actually do their due diligence, and depending on what they're able to discover there, and in negotiation with CBN, I want to believe, yes, at the initial stage it might be a little bit difficult, but a price will actually be achieved. Will be agreed to, and I want to believe in a couple of months CBN will be coming out with the result of all these things, and I want to believe, yes, good, it's they're actually going to be able to sell them.